What's up, everyone? Kevin here from Skywatcher, and welcome to another episode of the What's Up Webcast. We do this every Friday, 10 a.m. Pacific, right here at the Skywatcher USA YouTube channel. Cover everything from what's up in the nighttime sky to equipment to helpful tips and tricks. And of course, at the end of the month, we have special guests on to talk about our specialty in the field of astronomy. And before we get started today, just a couple announcements. There's a couple days left to get your totem target in. And if you want something cool to go along with your Skywatcher stuff, you can head over to skywatcher.threadless.com. This does go to supporting the channel. So if you want, go over there. Sorry about that. Now you guys can see. Go over to skywatcher.threadless.com. All that goes to helping the channel grow and lets us know that we're doing a good job and keeping this going. And then finally, like I said, you can go over to Totem, do your image there, and we'll get the new Totem patches out here soon as well. I would let you guys know that today is a pre-recorded episode because we're in the process of moving studios right now. So next week, our What's Up for the month for February should be in our new studio, so that should be kind of neat. So join us there. But this is a pre-recorded episode, so we should have some people monitoring the chat for questions, but if you have any major questions, you can email us at support@skywatcherusa.com or info@skywatcherusa.com, especially if you have questions on the What's Up webcast. So it is the end of January, and it is our special guest day, but today we're having the upper level of the Skywatcher team join us. So we have Jeff and Jared who are joining us this morning, and we're talking about the state of Skywatcher. So I'm going to go ahead and bring them in. Boop. There's Jeff on the left, the fearless leader, and then Jared on the right. Jeff is the director of Skywatcher, and Jared oversees marketing and a lot of our technical stuff for shows and stuff like that. So if you've come to Texas Star Party or NEAF, you've met the whole crew of the management level, including myself. And then we have a lot of extended team that make sure your stuff gets out and fixed and all that fancy stuff. So anyway, this is the other half of the team. So, hello.
Hello. Howdy, howdy.
So some of you guys might remember we did kind of a state of Skywatcher a year or two ago. We had Jeff on. Now we have Jeff and Jared on, and we're just going to be talking about what cool things are going on in Skywatcher. So, for you guys, I guess I'll start with Jeff because Jeff is the director of the whole brand. What did you think of 2023 in terms of Skywatcher?
I think 2023 was really good for us. I mean, sales are still strong. I think we are finally fully recovered from all of the flaming dumpster that was the pandemic. The supply chain issues are gone. We have inventory on pretty much every product. There's a couple here and there back orders but we've got product inbound. So we're fully stocked. Sales are great. Things are looking good. You know, I can now leave this office if I want to, but I haven't in months. So, but the potential is there.
There you go. How about you, Jared? Because Jared's probably the newer addition of our crew. He's been with us for a few years now, actually. But this is the first year we've been able, or 2023 was the first year we were able to really kind of get back into the show circuit and stuff like that. So, how was 2023 for you, especially now that it's like back to kind of normal?
It's been great. I've been kind of in and around the industry for almost 10 years now. So I've seen, some things come and go. I've seen shows happen from different perspectives with different organizations, and it's been really great. It's always the people, whenever you're talking about, this or that industry, it always comes down to the people and the relationships. And with the shows that we've been at this year, it's been really great to get back out there and get to the real root of the industry and what we're doing, and the camaraderie and the just experience of being with people, seeing this stuff, and just being a part of the cosmos and just seeing it and imaging it and talking about it, all of that stuff is just really, really great. And to see us kind of be a real key factor in that industry and with those events, it's always fulfilling and always kind of recharges your batteries for the weeks or the months ahead and whatever sort of goals we're trying to accomplish or problems we're trying to overcome. It's always good to be grounded through those events. That was a really great part of the last year.
And I think you were mentioning the shows. This is the first year that we actually went back to all of the shows, which was great. We went back to the ones that we always do, NEAF and Texas Star Party and AIC. And for the first time, we were at Ontario Star Party, which was great. So having a full slate of events where we were out talking to people in the industry and in the hobby was refreshing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's as much work as NEAF and NEAC are, and the thought of getting over there is a tremendous effort by everybody on our team to make that event happen. I think we shipped like literally 2 tons of equipment last year. But once you're there and you get back into it, the camaraderie is nice to see those faces again. So I thought NEAF was really cool last year just because it's like, oh, this is why we do it.
Mm. And you get all the cool interactions all the way up from like the big wigs and the mucky mucks of the industry all the way down to the, people that are just getting into the hobby where, I still have an email chain with this lady that I met at NEAF that has all these, disabilities and all these hindrances in her life, and she's still just like forging ahead, obsessed with the hobby and super passionate about it. So it's always great to see.
What are you now that 2023 was really awesome for Skywatcher, but 2024 is kind of a big year because it's Skywatcher's 25th anniversary as a brand, which you guys will see on your totem patches has the 25th anniversary emblem, and we have some other cool stuff that we hope to share with you hopefully very soon about the 25th anniversary. But other than that, 2024 should be kind of big for us because there's a lot going on. So,
in theory, it should be for us.
Yes, buy more stuff to make it a big year. So
well, even just the eclipse, it's just going to be, it's already shaping up to be a bit of a madness. And it's going to be a really interesting year with that.
Yes, I mean the fact I like that we've got an eclipse going in our 25th anniversary year. I think that if
that is kind of cool.
I would think it is just another sign of the coming of Skywatcher global domination. So prepare yourself, people. It's all
portents in the sky.
Yeah.
Yeah, our April is going to be really busy. So if you're trying to get a hold of us in April, good luck because we're going to the Eclipse event for Texas Star Party in early April for the Eclipse. And I think we're home for like a week and a half, and then we go to NEAF. So by the end of April, we'll all just be like, so, dead. But what are you guys looking forward to for 2024?
Besides the eclipse, I'm looking forward to going back to Ontario Starfest. Like I mentioned, last year was our first time there, and it was great. So I'm looking forward to going back. Just like, all of the events that we usually do. The eclipse is going to be the big thing, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we've got some new products coming, so I'm looking forward to that and stuff that we can't talk about, so don't talk about them.
Yes.
Yeah, it kind of feels like this is a bit of a shifting kind of year where there's just so much going on. The eclipse is obviously the big news story, but also the industry, you can kind of feel it ticking a little bit into a new realm with AI coming in, all of the new types of mounts coming in, a lot of just different sorts of approaches to the hobby and different sorts of opportunities for institutions to really change up their game in terms of public science institutions and things that they can do with new technology, and just in terms of the customer base, what they're able to sort of plan for in terms of how they want to roll with building their rigs or building, something that they can just kind of pop out on the back porch. It's all just really starting to kick up a notch and get a little bit more serious in terms of like just the beginners of what they're able to do now. It's just a totally different game.
Yeah, it definitely seems like a lot of the goal now is making imaging more obtainable, which we've been moving towards anyway, more affordable. But you're also getting to the point where you're trying to make people more successful on their first nights out for astrophotography rather than it being this big struggle. And Jared and I both image and we both work with telescopes frequently. And
hey, I imaged.
You did. That one time in the parking lot.
One practice thing.
But it's a lot of work. There's a lot going into it. So
I think we can bring up some specific products. We're trying to like skirt not talking about anything. We're going to be talking about some of these things coming up over the next number of months on different.
Yeah.
So, I mean, when you're talking about making astroimaging more accessible on a wide range of things, there's the C-Star is out there at one end of the price and at the price range, and then the brand new Origin, the Celestron Origins come out, which kind of does the same thing, but is a completely different beast at a completely different price point. But you're covering a significant range of people and experiences, and then yesterday we were talking a lot about the StellarMate Pro, and which is now in the same category as the ASI Air or the Ioptron iMate, which and
there's the Eagles,
J Eagle, and there's like some other ones, but there are things going on almost monthly in the industry with new products and I'm not going to say new technologies, but new applications of technologies that we haven't seen before. And we know that there are others, we know that we're working on stuff that we can't necessarily talk about, but everybody's working on new things, and it's almost like a renaissance right now.
Mm-hmm.
All of these different things.
Well, yeah, and there's a lot of people I think are going to get, you might read into the fact that, smart telescopes from everybody. That's not necessarily what we're saying either, because, stuff like C-Star and Origin and EV Scope and the other ones out there, that is one method of doing it, and that appeals to a certain group of people. But then, the strain wave mounts and there's companies like Skywatch or Celestron and the bigger companies. We have to appeal to a wide spectrum of customer base. So a lot of people who saw like Origin come out, they're like, wow, well, why aren't you doing this? It's like, well, you can only release so much product at once. And Skywatcher's got stuff we're working on, but we have to kind of bounce between what niche we're trying to fill. So I wouldn't read too much into everyone needs a smart telescope. No, not everyone needs one, but that appeals to a certain group. But then there's other demands elsewhere that Skywatcher wants to chase into.
Well, and I kind of like that where I was mentioning you've got, C-Star at one end and Origin at the other end of this one thing. And you kind of have, and that's for the people that want all in one, just want to flip a switch and have an image delivered to their phone or to their hard drive or whatever. And then there's the other end of that for the people that like having their own equipment and putting, like back in the day when the audiophiles would buy your turntable and your mix, all of the different pieces. There are people that want to do that, and so for those people, there are the ASI Air and the StellarMate Pro 128, and all these new. So there's something coming out for all of these different, and like you're talking about the strain waves. So there's chunks coming out everywhere. I'm kind of surprised that there's not more conversation about the whole like a renaissance thing going on. There's so much new stuff coming out, and with AI, we barely scratched the
Yeah.
surface.
Yeah.
Well, and there's
Yeah,
also
image processing, which we kind of talked about last week on our refractor episode, uh, doing a choosing a refractor for imaging. There's a lot you can kind of get away with nowadays with processing. So, and then that's going to be a new conversation: is do I need optics to be to this par anymore, or how much can you get away with computer work? So
ChatGPT, make the image of the Andromeda galaxy in a unicorn's pupil.
yeah.
well, and there's also different sorts of angles of the industry where there's this growing um, opportunity and threat of the satellites and the Starlinks and the mega constellations, and there's sort of a confluence of the consumer telescope industry with space situational awareness and people using these big arrays of kind of small consumer grade telescopes to track near Earth objects and satellites and space junk and all that kind of stuff. So that's a whole other portion of the industry that doesn't face consumers really at all. It's just out there kind of in the wilderness by itself.
Yeah, I see an opportunity here for almost like an Uber type industry where you've got all these people with little telescopes banding together to do SSA.
Yeah.
Selling the data is like, oh, can I put a satellite here? It's like, well, yeah. It's almost like when you go digging in your backyard and you have to find out where all the pipes and sewage and everything are. It's like, I want to put a satellite up here. It's like, well, we'll sell you the data to tell you whether or not that orbit's already taken.
Yeah, and that comes into products quite a bit. That's another example of, we'll just throw Origin up because it's relevant. Is I've seen a lot of people who get upset that's like, oh, well, that's not what I wanted. Okay, like we're not here to make custom telescopes for your particular need. You'll probably find, oh, there's the mascot. So, uh, that's serious. It is wintertime too, so it's appropriate. Companies have to make products that obviously meet certain criterias for certain interests, and obviously you can't make a product that's going to bridge everyone's interest. So obviously the Origin, yeah, if you're further down into imaging, it's probably not for you. You're probably past that. But for a lot of people, it probably is. But kind of leading where Jeff was saying, there's a lot of products that get developed that are not designed for the amateur world, and you just kind of, that technology filters down, like the RASA 36, RASA 14. It's a 14. Let's just go with that. You don't see them in the wild that much. That's because they were designed for satellite tracking and surveillance, and a lot of RASAs get used for that. And a lot of plane wave stuff gets used for that. So we do have some prosumer gear and technology that filters down, which is awesome, but it doesn't mean all the products are built for one particular use. Because if you want to be successful, a lot of our friends in the camera world, they sell to the medical field and stuff, like scientific field. It's not just astronomy, because that bubble is little. So,
well, and if you want to push examples to the extreme, it's like not everybody needs a spaceship to go to the moon, but everything, all the stuff that filtered down is like, that's why we have Velcro. So, and it's with everything that's coming out and everything, we talk to everybody in the industry, so that we have an idea of what's being developed and what's coming out. But it's like, you don't like what just came out, it's not designed for you. Wait 6 months.
Yeah.
There's something else there's something coming, that may be for you. We're talking about the Origin now because that's of the recording of this. It just came out, so it's on the top of people's mind. And it's like one of the things everybody's talking about is like, oh, well, how come I can't get that OTA? It's like, dudes, they just announced it. Hold on for a little bit, mate.
we don't know if they're going, but there's an opportunity, and they probably see it daily that people want a RASA 6 tube. So maybe they will fracture that and make it a 2. We don't know. I don't know. I really don't know. We're not lying to you at this point, but
I might be
you got to give companies some chance to, don't just get a new product out there, destroy it, and be like, well, they didn't do what I want. It's like, okay, well, give it a minute, would you? So,
yeah, feel free to provide input because that's where the industry gets its ideas. It's like with people talking about what they want or what's lacking in the equipment that they currently have.
yeah, we're all open ears to it. I mean, don't come up to me and be like, I want an 8-inch f15 achromatic refractor.
Which
It won't work. It won't sell.
our regular viewers are they're always in the chat. We see the stuff. It's like, can you put this on this and then do this and this and this? It's like, yes, and we're not going to because it's probably not cost effective, but you can. There's somebody that's asking, I want to put this giant OTA on this little mount. You go ahead and do that, and when you're digging dirt out of your optics because it couldn't handle the weight, blame us. There's reasons we don't do certain things.
There's a lot of thought put into this stuff. And by the time it comes out, I'm sure some people are like, well, I wouldn't have done it that way. Okay, well, a lot of this stuff has been under the design for 3 or 4 years. Most products, by the time you see them come out, I would say are bare minimum 2 years in development or longer. So if you're like, well, why'd they do this?
Did we not do an episode on? I know we did the talk at Ontario about
We did that same under product. Yeah, if you want to know about the product development thing, we did a whole episode on developing products. You can go back and watch that episode. It'll give you some insight on how products are developed. And that's probably pretty generic across most companies is these take time.
Anything, where you're building and manufacturing something, the steps are pretty common.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. But speaking of which,
real quick for anyone who wants to
Jared.
check out that episode, that's episode 120, product development from concept to completion.
There you go. Jared is the one that also handles a lot of the background for our podcast and stuff. So he's kind of the keeper of the episodes. Once we do them, he's the guy that manages all that. So.
I'm the key master.
Yeah. Are you? There was the key master and the gatekeeper.
Something. Yeah.
Wow. But yeah, and Jared's also the person who converts all of the webcasts into podcasts. So if you're listening to this in your car, say a silent thank you to Jared in your head.
There you go.
And just to touch up on the last topic, it's really interesting to watch the talk about and the marketing behind something like the C-Star versus something like the Origin, and how companies really have to not like hold customers' hand, but really have to make the case for why something costs this much when it seems maybe to the beginner that it does the same thing as this other thing that doesn't cost that much. And it's a fun use case in watching how the public understands this stuff and how they talk about it.
I agree with you, and especially on this particular topic, that like specifically C-Star versus Origin. Why do you have this $500 all-in-one versus this $4,000 all-in-one? And there was, and still is right now, as we're recording this, a lot of knee-jerk reaction happening online. But I think it's as people talk about it, and I'm seeing this already on some of the forums where you've got some voices coming in saying, well, you're not looking at apples and oranges, and here's why, and here's where costs are, and here's what this is doing, and this is why these are two different things. So sometimes it's a matter of marketing. Sometimes it's just a matter of allowing the market to absorb the information.
Yeah. There's a lot in there. So.
And yeah.
It's a lot.
And a lot. We know a lot of the people that develop a lot of this stuff from multiple companies. There's a lot of really far smarter than our team as well. There's a lot of amazing people that work on these products.
They're all jerks.
They're all jerks. They're all awesome people, and they all honestly want to push the industry forward. Their heart is in the right place, and they try their best to make that evident. And it does get disheartening when you release something and it's just completely trashed without. So give it a chance, let things sink in. And this is for any product out there. There's even newcomers that we have to look at and be like, well, that's not how we would do it. But we welcome competition as well, because competition is what starts a fire. And I think that's actually what you guys could actually bring in on this. I think that's going to be something that 2024 is going to be kind of big on. Is there's some big competitors in the last decade that are no longer relevant in the game, and there's new players that are now coming in that are seriously going to be changing the way the game is played and pushing things forward.
And honestly, so Kevin, you and I, 2023 was our 10-year anniversary at Skywatcher. So we've talked a lot about how things have changed in that time, not just the industry, but Skywatcher itself. When we first started, our big category of products was Dobbs. And that's not the case anymore. We still sell Dobbs and we sell a lot of them. But over the course of the last 10 years, we've become primarily a mount company.
Yeah. The EQ6R kind of really solidified that.
Yeah, especially when you're walking the grounds at the Star Parties and just see that handle everywhere you look.
and it wasn't necessarily by design, just following successes and applying technology that worked on one model onto other models, and two things basically changed. I'm not going to say changed our direction, but changed our direction. The EQ6R, and I think we were all surprised. We knew that it was a good upgrade. I don't think we thought that it was going to be as popular as it ended up being. Because right now the EQ6R is probably the single most popular mount in the industry.
Yeah.
And I know there's a lot of people talking about, oh yeah, but strain waves. It's like, yeah, strain waves are awesome, but they have their corner of the mount industry. They're not gonna supplant equatorial, classic equatorial mounts. And then the other thing was the Star Adventures, the tracking mounts. That just changed everything for us in one product.
And I have to believe that you can't actually go into a product thinking that this is going to be the game changer. I think there's a lot of, luck, for lack of a better term. There's a lot of timing, and a lot of those variables are out of your hands. Like, yeah, we did the EQ6R. We knew it was an upgrade from the original EQ6. We knew it would be successful because the EQ6 was successful. But I think a lot of it was just the timing and the moment in the industry. It hit exactly where it needed to be. And that is completely out of our control at that point. And I think bringing up strain waves, EQ6R was dominant for years. And now there's a newcomer on the block. And, the ZWO AM3 and AM5s and the strain waves are coming out. It's not saying that anything's been dethroned, but there's just new ways of doing things, and we hope to engage in there soon. But everything has its place at the table, and I don't like where people are like, well, this is the end all be all. It's not. It's just a new way of doing things.
When the Rasa came out, the Rasa is an example of an incredible optical system. Have all of the other optical systems gone away because the Rasa came out? No. It's fast and it's great for imaging and all this other, but there are things it does not do that a good old-fashioned refractor does. Or if you're doing planets, you want a Maxitov, or there's still room for all of the rest of it, regardless of what the new product is.
Yeah, they're all tools in the tool case, and if you need this for this, great. And that's why I think Jeff mentioned earlier where we're kind of going through this renaissance. It's never been better to be an astrophotographer because you have all these different palettes to work with. You have all these different, brushes, for example, to work with now. Like there's so many options that you are your own limitation at this point. So
well, not to mention the social media atmosphere that's surrounding all of this that allows people to share this stuff. Whereas, like, 20 years ago, great, you had an awesome image of M45 or whatever it is. What are you going to do with it? You're going to print it up and put it on the wall in your observatory, and maybe 5 people will see it. But now there's all of these communities of people there. There's communities of people, and Jeff, we were just talking about doing this at a show where, like, a lot of people just post process other people's data. Like, some people, that's all they do in this whole community, and that's all they're interested in. So there's something for everyone. It's just easier, less expensive. It's
Yeah.
a
Well,
good time.
and Kevin, you asked okay, so what's coming up for 2024? This is not a 2024 answer, but like the future of with the technology that's been going on. So right now we're seeing the smart observatories or what have you, or the boxes that make it. So the automation part is becoming easy. But I think as AI gets more refined, you're going to get truly smart uh, astrophotography systems or astronomy systems where you're basically talking to your system. As a matter of fact, we did a Q&A at the Ontario Starfest, and that was one of the questions. What do you see happening? And basically the same answer. I don't know if this is a 5-year thing, a 10-year thing, a 15-year thing, but you're going to have systems, not just a mount, but a whole system that you can talk to. It's like, what do you want to look at? You'll be able to set up an entire imaging run without touching your system or a computer. You'll just be able to tell it what you want to do. So
yeah, automation's going to be the big thing. And I know for me particularly, automation is a godsend because I have kids, I have stuff going on, and yeah, I want to image, and yeah, I need to test things, but that automation really helps. And I know there's a lot of other people that, yeah, I can't stay up all night. I want to for my hobby, but that automation is bringing more people to the game and having them be successful with it.
and it's those current limitations that I strongly believe influence the demographics of astronomy right now. It's like we see a lot of 45 plus is like our demographic. And I believe that that is because most people that have a job and a family, a couple of things that don't really that are not conducive to being outside at 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning doing image. It's like when you get to the end of your career, and if you're lucky enough to start retiring at 45, good on you. That's awesome. That's not my case. But, so as you get, 45, 50, 55, 60, more and more people are coming back into the hobby. I think people find the hobby when they're in high school, college, and then, oh my God, I have to pay for life. And that not allow me to do astronomy.
Mm-hmm.
As this technology and this automation continues to develop and get better, you're going to have people be able to talk to their systems like, hey, image this nebula and then image this and then dump everything into the hard drive so I can look at it when I'm having my coffee in the morning.
Yeah, I was chatting with a guy who started out with film in the 80s. And
Yeah.
like, who knows what you're going to get with that? But then, and then he, same thing. Life intervened, and he had all these responsibilities. Kind of left the hobby for a couple decades, and is now getting back into it with the Sea Star. And it's just like socks just blown off his feet.
Yeah. So, well, and the simplicity of it, as you guys know, and I'm not embarrassed to say this, but I know there are going to be people horrified out there, and I apologize in advance. I'm not an astronomer. I've always been fascinated by science. I appreciate all of those things. I was following Stephen Hawking when he still was using his own voice instead of the computer modulated thing. But I'm not into the gear. I love talking about the gear. I love marketing the gear. I love selling the gear. I don't like freezing my butt off at 3 o'clock in the morning. but we used one of the new systems that came out the other day. We took it, we call it Jeff testing. If it's something that's technically advanced and I can still make it work, then we have achieved a user interface that's worthwhile.
You
Yeah.
should slap a Jeff approved sticker on.
So,
Yeah, it's sorry, I just had to filter myself for a second. Right. So anyway, where were we? So that's where I see the industry as a whole going. And what you said, the automation is the easy way to say it. The artificial intelligence, I think, that's going to drive it is just getting started. And that's
yeah.
everything's gonna. And I would like to take this opportunity again to say to our future AI overlords that I am all in favor of you. Please don't kill my family.
Yeah. Um, so switching over, because obviously it is the What's Up Webcast, do this every Friday. Um, we've been doing this since 2020. This is year 4 practically, which is nuts. We're doing our 200 episode this year, but when we started this, Jared wasn't a part of the team, but now he is. But Jared's been a big factor on getting some of our more unique guests and branching away from kind of the core of astronomy. So, Jared, where would you like to see the What's Up webcast go, especially in terms of guests?
My main goal this year is getting some sort of tracker in the hands of Don Pettit on the ISS and have us do a live webcast with him on the ISS. That would be the North Star goal. But I think just in general, um, I just love seeing disparate sorts of characters come in and converse in our little community, just because I just love seeing the unexpected and where it can kind of go, and like just things that I hadn't thought of or that maybe our customers hadn't thought of, or I just love seeing the diversity kind of come through and really illuminate sort of different aspects of the community or products or the industry that we don't see because we're kind of closed in, kind of focused a little bit, and you bring in some other people that have a totally different background, totally different skill set, and they bring different ideas, and it's always exciting and just kind of keeps everything fresh and moving along and not stagnant. So that's what I'm always pushing for.
You don't want to just huddle in your bunker of astronomy knowledge and just stay there.
Let's keep it safe and comfortable.
Well, let's talk about moving forward. So I think one of the big pushes is what Jared has been tasked with moving forward is turning us into a more digitally focused marketing company. And so, how do you have general plans that you can talk about how we're going to do that?
Well, I think it's fairly broad. I think part of it is me being sort of out and about um, in different communities because I work at Griffith Observatory in Los Angeles, so there's that. And then during my travels, for these different events or whatever, I'm always meeting people, always with the idea that for me, astronomy has been like a really big, like sort of. It's just been really easy for me to talk with people about astronomy. Whereas growing up, in like high school and college, I was a little bit more introverted. And now with astronomy, I kind of feel like I have sort of an in to any group of people because everybody's at least a little bit interested in astronomy. So you can always sort of bring it up in sort of whatever sort of situation you're in, find a sort of a through line in conversation. So like after NEAF, I decided, well, I'll hang out in New York City for a couple of days, just kind of as vacation. So I went to the Hayden Planetarium and the Natural History Museum in New York City in Manhattan, and met the guy who was the science communicator there, the museum guy there, and we were just sitting around chatting about the big, I think it's the Willamette meteorite that's like
that huge.
huge, and they have pictures of when it was first found with like kids sitting in like the little nodules, and we just started talking about that, and he started talking about the observatory in his backyard, his astrophotography, and so like, cool, let's get you on the podcast or the webcast at some point. So it's it's sort of, it's digital, but it's also in the real world too. It's spanning from that all the way to people that are within Griffith, um, people that are really pushing the technology in new ways. I think there's just sort of endless opportunities for that. I think we really want to push this year also, really sort of leaning a little bit more on our relationships. Jeff, you always talked about like relationship marketing, trying to spin that a little bit away from like influencers, because we don't want to have people that were just like jet setting around the globe, going to like fancy dark sky parks and using the best gear. And
unless it's me, and I'm jet setting around the globe, going to places that I'm all for it. But yeah, I do talk about relationship marketing, and we've had the question, well, what's the difference between relationship marketing and influencers? I absolutely hate the term influencers and everything about them, um, because I'm old and they scare me. Um, but I mean, anybody with a YouTube channel or a TikTok or Instagram can, I'm going to be an influencer. But relationship marketing is different. It's like we spend a lot of time, or we've not a lot of time, but we've spent some time on the road with Trevor and Ashley from Astro Backyard. Kevin, I mean, when it comes to relationship marketing, Kevin is like our greatest asset because he knows everyone in the industry.
I'm a nerd. I just get interested in their stuff. It's like, can we be friends? It's like,
well, it helps that you're a genuinely nice guy. So
I try.
Um, and that's why Don Pettit has been on this webcast twice. I mean, what other webcast has had an astronaut on twice? Okay, it's our only astronaut, but he's been on twice.
yeah,
And I'm probably going to have him on again this year because I'm fascinated by him. He's just, if you ever get a chance to like hang out with Don Pettit and just hear him talk about ISS stories, even if it means sacrificing your family, take that opportunity because yeah, great.
Well, there's that one story that you shared, I think on the original webcast that you guys had on before I was here. It was like kind of a bit of a tearjerker story.
Yeah, I don't want to go into it because it's his story. But if anybody listening, if you want to go back to the first time Don was on and listen to his stories, I encourage you to do so. They're pretty amazing.
Well, and I think a big thing too for this year is like really trying to get not like star power, but some of these folks that have been in the industry for a while, like this. Wait, was it 2022 or 2023? We had Phil Plato.
Yeah.
That was just amazing. So
Father, we had the head of the Vatican Observatory. I mean, and again, relationship marketing. It's because you guys were basically hanging out with him at Acadia during a star event. So, I mean, anyway, I'm sorry, I hijacked your thought.
oh no, just basically kind of chatting about that. Just Ed Krepp from Griffith. Some of these folks that really just have kind of an amazing career, and they're not really well known. They don't really talk a lot with the wider public. So any chance that we get to like just be a part of that and kind of be a part of that conversation, kind of have them on our platform, it's just an honor.
Yeah, finding the astronomical equivalent of the inside baseball people.
Right.
Or yeah, well, and that's speaking of, and again, where Jared is going to be critical moving forward into this year. Uh, video something that we've been working on forever. We keep running into resource limitations, but I think we're finally in a position where we're going to be doing a lot more how-to videos, short how-to videos that we're going to put on TikTok and on our social media platform. So, because again, the access to this stuff is out there. We just need to provide the content that people can get to.
Mhm.
So yeah. Oh, and speaking of which, of the highlights from 2023, our subscription base for our YouTube channel that you are looking at right now, we cracked 10,000, which means we can monetize this channel. So we are coming after your money. But the other thing is, looking at the analytics of all of the people that watch this webcast, only 40% are subscribers. So subscribe.
Click that button.
Click that button. Mash that button.
It's gone.
Anyway, Kevin, back to you.
Yeah, so the What's Up Webcast is something that we're going to continue obviously doing. I would like to see us kind of expand even further and see how high up the list of names we could go. We have some pretty high level people we'd like to get on, not simply just because, oh, they're famous, but I would love to hear. I think that's kind of the cool thing, like, you know, from the lead at Griffith and stuff like that. They're just interesting people to hear and from, and like what they've experienced and how they got where they are, because, you know, we all started somewhere. So, you know, I'd love to have Seth MacFarlane on, and not simply because it's like, he's super famous and he made Family Guy. It's like he made the second Cosmos, and it's like the Family Guy made that. It just gets overshadowed, but then he's made other space stuff as well. So.
Well, oh shoot, I just had it. It was the name of his sitcom, The Orville.
Yeah, which is
Orville's
great.
amazing. But yeah, I think Cosmos, like, he kind of like spearheaded that. I believe he had purchased, I think, for the Library of Congress, like a bunch of Carl Sagan's old like notebooks and journals. He was like an avid collector and kind of obsessed with the whole thing.
Well, I think he's still friends with Carl Sagan's widow at this point.
Well, Andrian, she was her and I think Steven Soder. I think they were the original writers with Carl in the first season, and I believe they both helped write for the second and third season. I think Andrian was also an executive producer, so she definitely had a huge hand in that. So pretty amazing.
Yeah, like people like that would be really cool to talk to, just because they have an interest in it. They have a platform that's nice, but it's like, let's get away from why you are so well known and talk about where your interest in this community came from. You know, it's just cool to hear. And I wouldn't mind getting some musicians on that do the same thing, because it's like, you know, clearly we all have an interest in this somewhere.
Let's reach out to Brian May. I know we have.
Yeah. That'd be nice. So, but it's just cool because we can get away from, wow, you're this. Well, he's also into this, and she's also into that, and let's talk about that stuff. So I'd like to expand the net a little bit.
Yeah, it's like, Brian May with Queen, that's amazing. But for our purposes, that's kind of not the most exciting thing. You know, the most exciting thing is that he is in Queen, but he's also in this community too. It's that crossover that really makes it exciting.
Does he have a doctorate in astrophysics? What's his?
Yeah, he's got a doctorate now.
It's like, that just amazes me that you can be at the top of your game in such, again, disparate, good use of the word, by the way, categories and stuff. And not only disparate, we want desperate people.
Desperate.
If you need attention, we'll put you on.
We could just do a whole episode with musicians who are astronomers or with PhDs.
There you go.
Get a Brett Guritz from Bad Religion. Who else?
Yeah.
Dexter Holland from offspring.
So both Kevin and Jared are avid musicians. So another thing that I don't do. I listen to it. I don't do anything about it. So
We got to get you a guitar rig and do the jet test.
I had a guitar.
Turn that sound way down. So it's,
I will have you know that I can pick the streets of Laredo. So there you go. That's the song I remember from guitar lessons way back when.
Jeff is our resident Marvel expert. So.
I I I am that. But again, it doesn't require a lot of effort on my part. I sit on the couch and I read a lot of comics and watch a lot of movies at this point.
You know, there's some pretty big names that are into comic books too.
True.
That is true.
Guitarist from Tool, Adam Jones, into comic books. Drummer from System of a Down, I think, has his own comic book shop in Vegas.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to redirect this for now so that we're not just listening.
Like we have 9 minutes left, so if we get on the Marvel tangent, we're gonna be here for another hour. So
actually, I have a question for you, Kevin. What do you want to see happen? You know, so it's our 25th anniversary. You've been with the Skywatcher as long as I have. You've seen where we were, what we've gone through, where we are. Where do you want to see us go?
I think it'd be cool to bring some new optical designs to the table, or maybe make some of the more advanced optical designs more obtainable. Or something in that nature. I think it'd be cool to kind of push the envelope a little bit there. It'd be nice if we could come out with some new affordable refractors to just freshen up the lineup. That's been a big ask lately. And, you know, I'm always one for larger telescopes. So, you know, whenever that Esprit 200 decides to become an actual thing, there'll be like 4 of them. And then of course I think strain wave would be really cool to dig into. I like playing with all of this stuff, and it's just cool to see the different avenues you can go with it. But something fast, something small that could handle full frame, but it's a little bit unique. I don't think the refractor market is capped, but it's getting a bit crowded in there. So you really have to start thinking outside the box of how are you going to be different. And you're losing wiggle room in that pool. But there are optical designs out there they're out there and they're unique, and they probably meet the needs of a lot of people, but they're just crazy. So it'd be nice if we could figure out how to bring that back down. But for example, like RCs were like, oh my God, you had to spend tens of thousands of dollars to have an RC, and now you get a GSO RC and they're half decent. And a lot of people have them. So it'd be kind of cool if we could do something along that lines from maybe some other design. But yeah, I think it'd be kind of cool to go down that route.
Okay, so I'm going to delve just a little bit deeper to that. So refractors, I mean, we're talking the first telescope ever was a refractor. And what was that, 1400s? So 1500s, okay. So we've had some time to refine refractors. What do you think what could be done differently, aside from, you know, like the stuff that we've talked about what we can do, like how we can refresh the Evo Star line, how we can refresh the Esprit line, those types of things, which, you know, of course, moving forward, we will do. But what would be a thing that can be done to a refractor that hasn't been done in the last 500-600 years?
Well, I think it's all been done, but I think what we could see more of is refractors that start to dip below the f4 focal length or f ratio, and diving into refractors that can illuminate larger and larger chips while still maintaining a well-corrected field. And obviously there's some newcomers that have come in that are producing some really affordable stuff out there. That's not terrible stuff, but the finesse could be better. And
Well, and actually, from a business point of view, I'm kind of glad that they haven't finessed it any better than they have, because it leaves a distinct arena for us to exist in. It's like when we've had this conversation. When we started, we were the less expensive alternative to some very high end refractors. And I think the way we used to put it is like 95% of the performance at half the price, which is fine. And we know that we are not as good as some of these very high end, but very expensive refractors, but we're almost as good and significantly less expensive. And now we've got some of these other companies come in, and and the way I put it is they're skywatchering us. They're coming in, they're not as good, and they're significantly less expensive. So all that's really done is stratify the market a little bit. You can either pay a ton of money and get this incredible performance that you will never be able to fully appreciate as long as you're inside an atmosphere. The only way you're going to be able to get the full use of these optics is if you're outside of atmosphere. Our stuff, is at almost at that same performance, but significantly less expensive. And now you've got a lesser performance that is significantly less expensive. So I'm comfortable with where we are in that hierarchy. Are you guys?
yeah, as time's gone on, I think I'm more comfortable with where we're currently sitting. I wouldn't mind a little bit of refresh on some stuff. I don't know exactly what that would be. One of the telescopes that I think is really cool right now is like the William Optics Pleiades, which is a 68 millimeter f3.8, but it's 7 elements, and that there's nothing wrong with it. I got to play with one, and it works really well. But stuff like that, I appreciate the out of the box approach to it, and that's where you're gonna have to get different. So
That brings up a question. Say it was a 68 millimeter, right?
yeah.
In the chats on these episodes and in the field, everybody's asking for larger and larger refractors. It's like, oh, 200. When are you going to come out with a 220? It looks like the trends are for smaller, more portable travel kits. It's like a 50 millimeter, a 68 millimeter on a strain wave drive, because it's easier to throw in my bag and take with them. So there seems to be this disconnect between what people are asking for and where the market is going.
Yeah.
Am I seeing this correctly? Are you guys seeing the same?
Yeah, but I think it's also up to companies to kind of drive the market in certain ways where, I think it was Steve Jobs where it was like, you don't know what you want. But I don't think I apply that to the astronomy industry, because there's a lot of great ideas that come from the public. But there are some ideas out there that, sure, we could totally execute that, but we also have to understand, does that fit our business model? And we're not custom shop, and we're not here to just sell a handful of something. We're here to sell a bunch. So, for example, in the world of refractors, does it make sense for us to sell a 180 or a 200, or is that a market that's probably left to our buddy Vic at Stellarview, because he executes on that level? Like our big Stargate Dobbs, did it make a lot of sense for us to have it? They were cool and they produced nice images, but at the end of the day, I don't know that it really fit how we do business. And there's certain products I appreciate that we give it a try, but at the end of the day, we also have to look at what makes sense in our business model too. So just because you're like, hey, you guys should make an 8-inch Esprit, okay, yeah, we could probably do that. The glass exists now to do it. Does it financially make sense for us? Probably not so much. So would it be awesome? Yeah, it would be awesome. But
how much totally awesome giant Esprit cost theoretically?
I would have to say if we did an Esprit 200, let's say it's F8, 20K.
Give us your car, we'll give you a refractor.
Pretty much, that's essentially what that is. But this is, I know we have to shut it down. We just hit the hour mark. But one thing I would probably say for those who want the larger stuff, like for example, the Ascar 185 came out recently. I have a Stellar View 180. I've owned a Meade 178. These are not small telescopes by any terms of the imagination. So I think we're getting into a new era, especially with Ascar's 185, where they're spearheading these affordable, large APOs, which is great. I applaud them for that. But I think people are going to have a bit of a curve on these because they're not a 6-inch refractor. And a lot of people who haven't seen a 7-inch refractor, it is not this little average scale. It does not scale well. Yeah. And it's the same thing in the world of Dobbs. We had people with the Stargates. When are you going to come out with a 24-inch? That does not scale smoothly. It rockets up. So shipping, what kind of mount are you, like the amount of support that it takes from a company to provide that, and particularly on these 7-inch refractors, I think a lot of people are going to have a hard time when they first get it, be like, oh crap. Well, I think this is a torpedo.
Yeah, I think you mentioned like last week we were talking about this, where like, yeah, you get this great big scope, but then you realize like your mount, like you can't actually, it's not about like a weight thing. It's about like just the length.
The moment arm becomes very difficult on the mount.
Yeah.
But and we have mounts like the EQ8R could handle an 8-inch refractor without a problem. It handles the 180 I've got. But I have to raise that mount. Like I'm not using stock tripods. I've got risers on a bisque tripod, and there's a lot that goes into making that portable.
We need to get like Lego peer extensions, so 4 or 5 of them on there.
Well, sounds like Jenga.
We're mentioning the smaller scopes and that kind of trend. It's interesting when you watch the market, where like you watch lenses getting faster and people not using Star Adventures as much with their DSLRs because their lenses are fast enough to just shoot some quick and dirty Milky Way stuff. But then you see all of these smaller scopes coming into the market, getting more popular, but then the Star Adventure then gets more popular with those because you don't need as big of a mount. And so it's always this plugging and playing around industry that keeps everyone on their toes.
Which reminds me, before we peace out, that one of the things, because you asked it early on, what were some of the things that we accomplished during 2023? Bringing out the Star Adventure GTI was huge. And the CQ350. It's like we brought out mounts at each end of the spectrum. So, so in conclusion, I guess, it's like I think it illustrates just those 2 things coming out, along with the other stuff that came out in 2023, that it illustrates that Skywatcher is definitely still in it for the long term, that 25 years is just the beginning.
Yep.
And, I mean, I know that we still have a lot of stuff on the drawing board moving forward. I know that there are a lot of things that aren't on the drawing board that we are hammering our engineers and the factory to start develop, because of the things that we talked about today. It's a wide open panorama in front of us. There are so many opportunities, not for the entire industry. So what we have accomplished and what we have the potential to accomplish is amazing. I'm not tired of doing what we've been doing. So I think we're going to be doing it for a lot longer.
The sky is not the limit.
All right, everyone. Well, we've actually surpassed an hour, so we're going to go ahead and wrap up today. Thank you for watching. If you like what you see here, please go ahead and subscribe. Actually, please subscribe, because we know that most of you are not subscribed. Shame on you. But we'll be back next week live once again for our What's Up for the month. And then we'll be getting totem patches out. And yeah, I hope you have a great weekend. And we will see you guys next Friday. So take care.
Hi, everybody.
See ya. Bye.